Welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I am Graham Hughes. It is the 22nd of February 2025. It's Thursday. Big shout out to Koala Meat and to Audrey White and Sarah Davis, Leonora's Embroidery Journey. We've got Pete's Music. We've got Dave W, Billy Kershaw, and others. If you would like to join them in the chat over here, all you need to do is just hit that subscribe button and wait for 30 seconds and you should be able to join them. And as we always say on the show, just don't be a troll or we will mute you and boot you. So today we're talking about Starmer's high stakes trip over to the States to go and visit Donald Trump. You know, the rapist in chief, the guy who seemingly has fought for the Tate brothers, who are wanted criminals in three different countries, three different jurisdictions. He's allowed them to fly to America on a private jet. You know, like if you're a woman or if you're someone who has a mother or a sister, kids, most people have mothers. You know, just generally speaking, like, how can you support this? Like, seriously, how can anyone support this rapist charter, this sort of free Barabbas that they shout the devil worshippers? I call them devil worshippers because they worship Donald Trump and he's the fucking devil. So, looks to me like they worship the devil. The devil came back. They would worship him because they worship Donald Trump. And he's allowed the Tate brothers to just leave Hungary. Unbelievable. Romania, sorry, not Hungary. Absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, we've got this. We have this delegation, this diplomatic mission of Keir Starmer's to go to Washington and meet up with Trump, the buddy of Putin, Putin's Bezzy. He's going to meet up with the guy who worships the ground that Vladimir Putin, the butcher of Bucha, walks on. He's going to meet up with him. And possibly Musk as well. I'm sure Musk will be there, dancing around like a tit in the background, because the man's a tit. He's an absolute tit. And I support Starmer in this, and I want him to succeed. But bloody hell, this is a political minefield that he has to navigate. And he's essentially playing chess with a pigeon. You don't want to play chess with a pigeon because the pigeons, you can't explain the rules of chess to a pigeon, and the pigeon will just knock all the pieces over and shit all over the table, which is quite likely what Donald Trump's going to do. He very famously does shit himself at every opportunity, and that's why he wears nappies. The context to this is obviously Trump's pivot towards Russia, away from the old alliance that's been in place since 1945. Well, arguably before then, but this particular one, NATO, has been in place since, I thought 49 NATO was set up in order to be a bulwark against Moscow expansionism. There's still people who don't forgive Churchill for what they see as selling out Eastern Europe. But I don't think at the time, as we all were at the time, war-weary and battered, I don't think we had much of a choice. If you want to blame anyone, blame Adolf Hitler for splitting Russia, Europe down the middle. So we've got the fact that Trump has labelled Zelenskyy a dictator while chumming up to Putin, refusing point blank in his meeting with Macron earlier this week to call Putin a dictator, which he is. A dictator who's been in charge for 25 years, who fucking kills anyone who disagrees with him. He kills them. That's what he does. And the Supreme Court is ruling that Trump is above the law. It is ruling, it has ruled. And this is why it makes any visit to the White House dangerous at the best of times. I always worry about this. Obviously, I was talking about Zelenskyy's visit to the White House tomorrow. But there's literally nothing stopping the president of America killing our prime minister today. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it. I really, really wouldn't want to do it. So his Starmer's objectives today, he's got to persuade Trump that a fair peace deal requires Ukrainian consent. Unfortunately, what Trump thinks is fair and what the rest of the world and right-thinking people think is fair is completely different things. Trump, being a well-known sycophant of Vladimir Putin, might try and impose a settlement that sacrifices Ukraine's sovereignty. He's already said that he's not going to have any American peacekeeping troops over there. It's got to be all British, European, NATO, and paid for by us. They don't want to pay anything. Trump's proposed mineral deal with Ukraine lacks security guarantees. It's basically selling Ukraine out for its treasure. You know, what's his name? Trump is acting like a gangster, which he is. You know, protectionist racket. You know, he's got a nice place here. He wouldn't want anything to happen to it, would you? While they extract the minerals that he wants from Ukraine. Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who's like a Fox News commentator, who's now in charge of the fucking military. He said at Munich, he admitted that the US is no longer the primary guarantor of security in Europe. From that standpoint, you know, trying to get America under Trump, which isn't really America anymore. It's not the America that we used to know. I'm not going to say know and love. I'm just going to say it's not the America that we used to know. Starmer must secure an American backstop for any European peacekeeping force in Ukraine. And the harsh reality is Europe might be on its own if Russia acts up again. The only good thing about that is, like, Russia's not very powerful. If this was China, we'd be in a lot of trouble. If it was America going at us, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But Russia isn't as powerful as it likes to make out. It's very good at disinformation, propaganda, bullshit. It's I've said a million times, it's a paper tiger, or in this case, a paper bear. Trump's threat of tariffs on European goods, it will be discussed as well. Can Starmer protect the UK from the economic fallout of that, or is he just trying to avoid catching the eye of the bully in the playground, as Ed Davey put it the other day? And then we've got the Trump card, not of Donald Trump's, but of ours, which is the speculation about offering Trump a royal visit and an address to the House of Parliament in return for not siding with Putin against Europe, which is a sacrifice that I would hate to have to make, but I would. Mostly because I don't give a shit about the royal family, and whatever if we can use them for some kind of good, then yay. But it feels like pandering. It feels like pandering to this horrible child, Anthony, from the Twilight Zone, a little monster who can make things happen, and everyone has to be really, really nice to Anthony. That's what it feels like. Just to jump into the chat for a moment, we got Koala Meat. Have you seen the Johnny Smalley goes on trial next week in Korea? He's looking at 10 years. Gallifreyan Wren, the world might have gone mad, but I've had a nice breakfast. It makes all easy to cope with. Oh, thanks, Gallifreyan Wren. I've not had breakfast. I've not had a shower. I had to get up in the middle of the night last night and sort some stuff out for an hour, and then go back to bed. So I'm not quite with it. That's probably why. Although my amazing partner, Kat, has brought me a cup of coffee. So that should wake me up when it cools down. Oh my God, I've just poured molten lava all over my tongue. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Just let me have a little wince. I'll be okay. Woo! Chamberlain knew one thing, says Christopher Bowles. Britain and France needed time to catch up with Germany's technological developments and war production. Yep. Lee Corn said they mentioned the dog of Sky News, but didn't say whether or not it had died as well. Does it sound like possible carbon monoxide? Hopefully nothing darker. I don't know what you're referring to there. I'll try and check. Nick and Diff is talking about the Tank Brothers. Tristan. God, he didn't go to the local comp, did he? Tristan. Oh, my name's Tristan. Yeah, man. Oh, this is my friend Guinevere. My other friend Tarquin. Arseholes. They should be in jail for the rest of their miserable, godforsaken lives. But unfortunately, because of the grisly old white men who rule the world don't see that sexual abuse of women or minors should be a crime, they can get away with it. The church used to just get away with it because the church was in charge. The church isn't in charge anymore. They can't get away with it like they used to, but the politicians can. They left Romania by private plane, says Nick and Diff, probably ordered by Trump as they wouldn't get past security at a large airport. Absolutely shameful they have escaped. Expect these monsters on the screen again. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's on all of us to make a statement to YouTube if they start being on YouTube again. I think they're on Rumble at the moment, but it should absolutely not be allowed that those two men who have caused women more suffering than any other human being on this planet. I mean, you can talk about warlords using rape as a weapon of war, but what those two men have done is they have spread their toxic, violent misogyny all across the world. And do you know what? Can someone check if J.K. Rowling has mentioned this? The fact that these people who are so scared, like J.K. Rowling, she's so scared of trans women in case they might commit a crime. And yet when it comes to people who are men, cisgender men, who've actually committed crimes on a biblical scale against women, the silence, crickets, where are they? Where are they? Where are they defending women? It's almost as though they're not defending women. It's almost as though they just hate trans people. It has to be, I have the feeling this meeting is pointless, but hey, I guess it has to be seen to be done. It might not be pointless. Don't underestimate Starmer. He is pretty good at what he's done. Oh, fuck. Oh, what? Sorry. I've just read that Gene Hackman's died. Oh, fuck. That was one thing that was keeping me going. It's the fact that Gene Hackman was still alive. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm pissed off about that. Oh, that's upsetting. Oh, my God. Bonnie and Clyde, Mississippi Burning, The Conversation, World Tenenbaums. I hope they put on his gravestone that he died rescuing his family from a sinking battleship. Fuck. Born in California in 1930, Hackman had enlisted in the army after lying about his age at 16, and he served 4.5 years. What a guy. 95 years old. He had a good innings. He had a good innings, but he was one of my faves. He was one of my absolute faves. You knew if you were watching a movie with Gene Hackman, it was probably going to be good. Do you remember Enemy of the State? Will Smith before he went around slapping people. Oh, thank you very much to Alistair Kerm for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Funds for the birthday cake, Graham. Happy birthday when it comes. Oh, thank you very much. That's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I'll probably be doing my show from my phone tomorrow in the morning. I hope you don't mind that you're not going to have all this all this stuff around you. But it's just I keep taking all of my kit to Liverpool with me, and then I set it all up, and then something goes horribly wrong, and I end up using my phone anyway. Are we in the bad place? Says Katrina Tam. Yes, we are in the bad place. I don't know what we did to deserve to go to the bad place, but if you watch the bad place, it's quite the good place. Sorry, it's quite interesting that it's actually impossible to go to the good place because of anything you do in life feeds misery somewhere down the line. You can't get away from it. All we can do is live in the society which has been built for us and try and make it better. But unfortunately, there are millions of people out there who just want to try and make it worse. They want to make life more uncomfortable for no good reason other than they're scumbags. God, I hate time. Isn't time a twat? Isn't time an absolute bastard? Killing Gene Hackman like that. And Buffy's sister died as well, which I thought was particularly heartbreaking. I always thought she was a really, really great actress. She was in Gossip Girl. She was brilliant. And she died at the age of 39. 39, that is no age. That is no age whatsoever. Apparently she's had health problems lately, so it might not be what you think it might be. But at the same time, it's not great. Anne Phillips, Gene Hackman is no more. The Tates are alive and at large. Is there justice in the universe? Only when we make it. only when we make justice in the universe. But we need people on side. And unfortunately, the left just likes to argue amongst itself rather than actually grab the bull by its horns and actually do what needs to be done, unpalatable as it might be. So let's talk about the challenges that Starmer faces. First of all, you've got Trump's unpredictable nature, which he sells as a feature, not a bug. It's an absolute bug. You've got Macron's kind of charm offensive that he did with Trump. I don't think that Starmer can do that. He's not very charming. He's not a very charming man. I'm not saying he's a charmless man. I'm not saying Blair are going to write a song about him. I'm just saying, he's got a straightforward style. And Starmer's known as a bore in Trump circles. How can he win over a president who only really responds to flattery and spectacle? I mean, the pomp and circumstance of having a royal visit to the UK and meeting with King Charles and all that kind of shit. That's the kind of thing that Trump will like. Then you've got the risk of being played. The Lord Mandelson affair. Trump's team publicly threatened to reject his ambassadorial credentials only to relent as like a power play because Trump likes to play his fucking stupid little games. And could Starmer be manipulated into offering too much? The royal visit is one thing, but there's something else. The Chagos Islands. There's a military base, American military base in Diego Garcia. We had done a deal with Mauritius to hand back the Chagos Islands after many, many years of them being held by the British and the people who lived in the Chagos Islands being forcibly deported. And I can see him having to say, look, we're going to have to sacrifice the Chagos Islands. We're talking about, not that many people having their lives continue to be disrupted for the sake of the lives of hundreds of millions of people in Europe under the threat of the Soviet fucking renaissance, under dictator, the butcher of Bucha, Vladimir Putin, the guy who murders his political opponents, the guy who gives them radioactive sushi to eat or puts polonium in their tea. This is the kind of monster that we're dealing with. Katrina Tam, thank you very much for the £10 super chat, my friend. That is very, very kind of you, Katrina. Happy birthday, Graham. Continue dying on the Google isn't a verb hill. Using it makes you subconsciously think it's the only search engine, no matter how bad they get, so you never switch. Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying, Katrina. I just think it's going to be a difficult one to fight because it is like Hoover or Velcro or sellotape. Yeah. I mean, they could have said sticky back plastic every episode of Blue Peter growing up, but we just called it sellotape. Like, it took me a long time to realize they were talking about sellotape. I don't know what sticky back plastic. What even is that? But that's what you call it. I mean, when my dad was a stickler for stuff like this, so I always remember he had a garage and everything had a box, right? And every box was labelled in his own writing. You would write up, on the front of the box, what was in the box. We had all these cardboard boxes, you had these plastic boxes. And for Velcro, he would never use the word Velcro because Velcro was a trade name. He would use hook and loop tape. Hook and loop he would put, which was Velcro. I mean, he's hook and loop. And other things like that. And he was a stickler. He was a stickler for all that kind of stuff. He always used to spell carburetor with an ER at the end, not an OR, because that's the original spelling in English. And then it was changed to OR to be more like other countries, or America, I don't know. And it always stuck in his craw, so he kept it as ER. And everyone would come in and go, you spelled carburetor wrong on the sign. Get a better carburetor. Anyway, so good luck, Katrina. But I share your sentiment that Google is not a great search engine. I constantly pull my fucking hair out over Google because I just want to find out how to do something. Like, I use Adobe Premiere and Adobe Photoshop on a daily basis, and I get your money's worth. It's fucking expensive, and I need to find out how to just do something on there. And typing it into Google is like the worst thing you can possibly do because it just doesn't tell you. It gives you some AI overview that doesn't give you the thing that you want to know. And then it's just videos on YouTube and you'll click on it and it'll be like Hello, welcome to my channel. Here's a word from my sponsor. And I'm just like, oh, I just want to know literally what the fucking keyboard shortcut is for this thing that I want to do. And yeah, you end up spending something that should take 30 seconds to find out. It ends up taking like 5 minutes. Watching stupid bloody videos and all this kind of stuff. It's the end shitification of the internet. And I completely agree. I think we should be moving away from Google. If you want to suggest some other search engines that you think are better, then please do. Leonora says Trump is not just unpredictable, transactional. He is on one hell of a power trip right now. He absolutely is. I saw Michelle Trachtenberg in Eurotrip as a teen. Absolutely loved that film at the time. Shocked when I saw the news last night. She played Buffy's sister in season 5, I think, of Buffy, season 5 onwards. Her sister, who may not have existed. But yeah, sorry, spoilers. But yeah, it really, really sad when a young actor dies like that. I mean, I'm a bit gutted about Gene Hackman, but at least he had the good innings, and God, he gave us some great films. God, he gave some great performances. Really, really good performances. 190 watching. Can we hit the 100 likes? Make Graham's birthday better. Oh, thanks, Alistair. That's really kind of you. Christopher Ball says the ICJ ordered the UK to return the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands in 2019. The UK extended the lease to Diego Garcia before negotiating to satisfy the judgment. Yeah. What Starmer might have to do, and this is a bit shit, but he might have to say, look, we're going to negotiate a deal with Trump, which means that they get to keep Diego Garcia. The other Chagos Islands can be given back, and people can live on the other islands, just not on Diego Garcia, I guess. I don't know. And it might only be for a 5-year lease. I don't know. If you can get away with that, brilliant, because once Trump's not president anymore, he'll be able to deal with someone who's fucking sane. The bigger picture is that I agree with Frederick Merz. Europe needs independence from the US. We need to celebrate our own Independence Day, ironically enough, from America. How Starmer's actions in Washington could affect the UK's position is it's massive. The pressure is on. This is the most high-stakes meeting between the leader of the UK and the leader of the US since the Second World War. That's how high stakes it is. I'm not pissed around here. His position he wants to put himself into as a bridge between the US and Europe. And there are some things that go in his favor with this, right? So there's the fact that he's new. He wasn't in power when Trump was last in power. He wasn't even in the shadow cabinet. I don't think. Oh, he was in the shadow cabinet, wasn't he? He was the Brexit minister, shadow Brexit minister. Dark days. So for Trump, although Trump obviously clearly doesn't like him, which isn't great from the get-go. He liked Boris Johnson. He called Boris Johnson, what was it? Britain Trump. Which he kind of is, because he's sexually incontinent, messy fucking hair, complete gobshite, dresses like a twat, and has a very cavalier attitude over the lives and happiness of everybody else. As long as he's having a good time, then, as far as he's concerned, everyone's having a good time, right? So he doesn't have that, but he wasn't one of the European leaders who were laughing at Donald Trump when he was giving a stupid fucking speech at the UN or to European leaders. He wasn't one of those leaders who was laughing behind Trump's back. And if Starmer can act as a bridge between the US and Europe, the rest of Europe, that could be a good position to get into. But it's going to be difficult. And I think that, the sort of the offer of the royal visit, the offer of the sacrifice of Diego Garcia, it's a shit job. I keep saying this. I would hate to have his job. I would absolutely hate to have Starmer's job right now, because if I met Trump, I'd just want to hurt him. So what Starmer needs to achieve is a clear US commitment to support Ukraine with genuine security guarantees from the US, assurance that the UK will not be caught in Trump's potential trade war with the rest of Europe, and some semblance of unity between the US and Europe to counter Russia. But failure could mean Ukraine is left out in the cold, literally and figuratively. A weakened NATO, with the UK isolated between a disinterested US and a wary Europe. And then you've got the economic damages that could be caused, the economic damage from US tariffs, just as the UK tries to build post-austerity, Brexit, COVID, and Truss. It's pretty grim. It's pretty grim. Dickhead. It's like D for dickhead. Austerity, Brexit, COVID, dickhead. The dickhead being Liz Truss. So yeah, you got any ideas what Starmer should do to get this mad fucking twat on side? This is like Clarence Starling going to visit Hannibal Lecter, who Donald Trump is obsessed with for some reason, but Hannibal Lecter being fucking divvy. Do you know what I mean? Being like a special child who has special abilities to just do whatever he wants to do. Incredibly dangerous. This is stupid Hannibal Lecter unleashed. And you've got to try and dance around his fucking stupidity and his mercurial nature. Paul Spicer, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Did Blair try to keep US, EU happy and ended up getting dragged into the Iraq invasion? Yeah. Good point, Phil. Good point, Phil. Well made. Can't argue with that. Blue Sky 2 whispers of cloud. Yeah, it's very, very bright behind me. As you can see, I've had to bump the brightness up on my camera a lot so you can actually see me. Otherwise, I'll be silhouetted against the... This is the reason why I used to use a green screen. It wasn't so bad recently because it's been winter. It's been dark outside, but now it's light outside. That's an east-facing window. So, in the morning, it's like... It's like the wrath of God coming through the window. Katrina Tam, Ecosia and DuckDuckGo are both good search engines, better than Google now. Brilliant. Okay, we will advertise them on the channel. Ecosia and DuckDuckGo. Okay, I'll check them out. Is Ecosia German? Is that German? Could do with just pulling away from American companies anyway. He says on a Google-owned platform. Captain, rather have Starmer represent us than any of the right-wing loons we've had for the last 14 years. I know. Imagine Liz Truss trying to do this. Imagine Liz Truss trying to do this. Could you? Oh my God. It would be like that Monty Python sketch. Was it Arthur Touched Jackson, the boxer? And they've got a scene where he's boxing with like a little girl in a boxing ring. Be like that. Oh, it would just be awful. Treat Trump like a special baby in all that means. Yeah, indeed. Phil says it's a nightmare for Starmer. I appreciate that. Indeed. Futrum Stunk says Elon Musk equals Clarence Starling. Gladys Starling. Hello, Gladys. Leonardo's embroidery journey. Some good news. My son passed his lesson assessment with flying colours. Yay! Well done, Leonardo's embroidery journey. I'm really, really happy to hear that. Warren P says, Leonora, honestly think that Trump is not at all well, both physically and mentally. Yeah, but I mean, there were rumours about Putin, weren't they? Like Putin was ill and Putin was on his last legs, and nothing really came of it. Like I've said before, Mugabe lived till he was about 93 or something, and he was the dictator of Zimbabwe pretty much close till his death. I know he was deposed at the very end, but he never saw any kind of justice for his many crimes that he committed while the dictator of Zimbabwe. And he was a big man. He didn't look very healthy, and he had a little tiny moustache, which I thought he had like some kind of like hair lip or something. So I sort of felt like, oh, shouldn't make jokes about that. But it turns out it was just like a little very, very thin moustache, like a Brazilian a Brazilian Hitler moustache. There you go. Can I have the Brazilian Hitler moustache, please? Oh yeah, sure. Just leave it there. Just leaving that in that little bit that goes in. Captain says French Connection, Prime Cut, Bonnie and Clyde, and Unforgiven are better films for Hackman being in them. Deserved his Oscar for French Connection. The sequel was good too. Yeah, French Connection is a fucking fantastic film. And Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman. Won the Best Picture Oscar for 1993, I think. Unforgiven. What a movie! It was always seen as like the swan song of the cowboy genre, and especially being directed by Clint Eastwood, who's turned into a big MAGA twat now. So when he's still making movies, which is great in one hand, but on the other hand, it's like I don't know where he gets his politics from. He was the mayor of Carmel in California, old Clint Eastwood. But Clint, when you write it down in cursive hand, you got to be very careful to put an I above the put a dot above the I. I might like something else. Anyway, look, Starmer's going to be stepping into the lion's den, the stupid lion. Not the cowardly lion, but the stupid lion. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, but if he can pull this off, he can strengthen the UK's hand internationally and ensure a fair peace in Ukraine. If he can't, well, let's hope we're not back here tomorrow talking about Britain's irrelevance on the world stage. Hey. Anyway, right, should we look at the papers? I think we should look at the papers. Here we go. We've got the Times here. The truth about parenting. The truth about gentle parenting. There's some absolute bullshit yesterday in the on the radio. Sheila Fogarty on the radio, right? And she was talking about Catherine Birbalsingh, who is now saying that we're too soft on kids. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I was very tempted to call in, actually. I was very tempted. I was driving at the time, so I couldn't. But I was very tempted to call in and just be like, give her down the banks for even bringing up this woman's name and saying that we should listen in any way to what she has to say, because we're giving children too much choice. We pander to them. Fuck off, Catherine Birbalsingh. You want to know why the older generation, the boomers, are so fucked up? Because their parents were fucked by the war, okay? They're the kids of the people who were fucked by the war. Their parents saw their friends dying in their fucking arms, and it fucked them up. They all had post-traumatic stress disorder, whether they were cowering in the fucking underground, whether bombing was going on in the London Blitz, or whether they were on the fucking front line fighting the Nazis across the beaches, across Belgium, across Germany. Whatever happened, right? They had post-traumatic stress disorder, and they treated their children pretty much like they were treated in the army, which is without love, without compassion, because they couldn't express it, because they've been too fucked up by the war. Not their fault, not necessarily the boomers' fault, but look how the boomers turned out. And no offense to boomers who are watching this, who are quite nice people, like my mum and others. Obviously, this is not everyone. It is not across the board. But just have a look at how many fucking serial killers there were in the 70s and 80s, and have a look at how many there are now. In fact, there hasn't been a serial killer in the UK that we know of in over a decade. The last one was Laura Letby, and we don't even know if she actually did it or not. They just died out with the boomers, okay? We had very few serial killers before the boomers, and then suddenly, 1960 to 1990, it was serial killer central. Not just in the UK, but especially in the US. That generation was the generation that has consistently voted against measures to curb climate change. They have voted for Brexit. They have voted for Donald Trump, a convicted, adjudicated rapist, to lead the free world. And yes, other people in other cohorts vote for people, right? I get that. And I'm not going to argue that this isn't 100%. It's not a zero-sum game or anything like that. But the vast majority of boomers voted for Brexit. You can't get away from that fact. It'll be a bit like me saying, no, England didn't vote for Brexit because I didn't vote for Brexit. No, Graham. I know you didn't vote for Brexit, dickhead. But England did. And if I was Scottish and I voted against it, like, a super majority did in Scotland, I would be pissed as hell at the English for dragging us out of the EU. And if a Scottish person blames me, an English person, for dragging them out of the EU, do you know what I say? I go, yeah, that's fair enough. I don't get all defensive and pissy and go, oh, no, but I didn't vote for it. No, it was my fault, as well as everyone else who voted, the people who voted for it, but also it was the people who didn't vote for it, who didn't explain it very well to the other people, who allowed a dickhead like Jeremy Corbyn to become leader of the fucking Labour Party. Guy who couldn't explain his way out of a wet paper fucking bag. A guy who, under his leadership, in inverted commas, half of Labour voters didn't know the week before the vote if Labour was for or against Brexit. Well done, dickhead. So yeah, no, take the blame, right? And take responsibility. Take responsibility. Speak up. If you're part of that cohort and your mates are all like, oh, I like Nigel Farage, he's gay, he just says it like it is. He just says it like it is. Ooh, look at Nigel Farage saying it like it is. This is a guy who's like, went on the front pages of all the newspapers whinging about not being able to get an elite bank account with an elite bank for put his elite millions in that he had grifted over the years by being what was it called? What's the word for it? What's the term? Oh, a career politician. That's the one. David Faulkner, thank you very much for the 38 Hong Kong dollars. Very kind of you. The good thing with this is with this disdain for Trump, British people recognise that our natural friends are Europe. Hopefully, it'll push us closer to the EU. Yeah, that's my hope as well, my friend. That is really my hope. And thank you for the super chat. Witchy Macron showed how to deal with that idiot. You're replying to Witchy. I thought like Witchy Macron. I've not heard that term before. Colin Baker says mention of the self-titled Britain's strictest head teacher reminds me that last night my wife asked me if I knew who played the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog. Ruth says, I think you need to blame the generation that came before the boomers. Where I work, they all buy the Daily Mail. Well, the generation that came before the boomers was the greatest generation. They were the ones who fought in the war, founded the NHS, founded the UN, founded NATO, founded the European Union, and then the boomers came along and just took a wrecking ball to it. It can take 500 years to build something. It only takes a second to knock it down. It's like SimCity. Do you remember the original SimCity back on the Amiga days, right? When you could build like a nuclear power station and it would cost like X many billion to construct, and then you could knock it down. You'd get they had like a little icon which was, if I remember right, it was like a little bulldozer, and you could knock it down for $1. Any building you built in SimCity, you could knock down for $1. And I was thinking that because it's true. I mean, it seemed ridiculous in the game. Like, obviously, it costs more than $1 to demolish a building, but like, yeah, it's really easy to get rid of stuff that's been built by somebody else. You know, building stuff is difficult. Takes time. But yeah, Alice Durham says, yeah, we're still pissed big time. Scotland never gets what it wants. England gets what it wants because it's bigger voters, etc. That's why Scotland needs independence. Yeah. So I've sort of swung on the pendulum of this. So in 2014, when the Scottish referendum, people talking about the Scottish referendum, I felt like I didn't want Scotland to leave the Union. Selfishly, you know, I've got ties with Scotland. I love going up to Scotland. I try and get up to Edinburgh as many times as I can in a given year. Edinburgh is closer to me than London. It's easier for me to get to than London. It's quicker. It's an hour quicker to get to Edinburgh from here than it is to get to London. You get to go along the coast. It looks brilliant. I love going up there on the train. I have a real affinity for Scotland. And so when it was like, oh, Scotland's going to leave the Union, I was like, oh, I don't really want it to leave the Union. But then after the Brexit vote, I was like, fuck it. You know, we don't deserve Scotland. Scotland's too good for us. You go with God, Scotland. But then digging into it, the economic, financial side of stuff, like Scotland, I don't think it's a good argument to say we should all be together in the European Union, but then, you know, break apart as the union of the kingdom, the United Kingdom. So like I sort of pendulum sort of swung a bit now, and I just think Scotland should just be given like shitloads of devolved power, like to do pretty much what it wants. But when it comes down to defense and the currency and all that kind of stuff, that should be shared. That should definitely be shared. But I would like to see an English Parliament, a Scottish Parliament. Well, there is a Scottish Parliament, a Welsh Parliament, not an assembly, but a Parliament. And yeah, and Stormont coming back online in an effective way in Northern Ireland, and I think that would be the best way to do it. I think it's really ridiculous that you have Scottish MPs voting on English only issues. That should be devolved to the English Parliament, which I think Phil wants it in Doncaster. I want it in Liverpool. I think Liverpool's a way better place to have it. But then again, if it was a Parliament for the whole of the British Isles, then Liverpool is the obvious place for that to be. Not least because you can get to it without flying from any of the directly without flying from any of the constituent parts of the UK. It's very close to Wales. It's closer to Scotland than London is. And if you include Northern Ireland, you've got a ferry. You've got a daily ferry. You've got 2 daily ferries that come over from Belfast to Birkenhead. So yeah. I'm scared reform will take Wales next year, says Sarah Davis. I don't think they will. I mean, seriously, I don't think they will. Wales has been traditionally left-wing through the years. I just can't see it. I mean, at the moment, there's not a single Conservative MP in Wales, which is just remarkable. Dragar says, I found out a few months after the vote that my mother voted leave because of immigrants from countries that aren't in the EU, unaffected by leaving the EU. It hurts my head and heart. She was lied to. But I was going to go back to saying about Birbal Singh, Vice. That generation, because they weren't taught like how to be, they weren't taught how to not to be credulous. You know, they were just taught to do what they were told. They were told to shut up and do what they were told. They were never given an option. They were never made to make a decision at a young age, and it fucked them up. Not all of them. Hashtag not all boomers. But it fucked up enough of them that they just do what they're told. And who tells them to do stuff? Murdoch, Farage, Rothermere, the Barclay brother, that fucking Desmond Morris creep. No, he did Zoo Watch, didn't he? No, not Desmond Morris. What's his name? Richard Desmond. Porn baron. The guy who owned the porn mag, Burley Legal, who was in charge of the Express for many years. The Express was just, keeping up British values. What, like a porn mag called Burley Legal? Is that British values, is it? The guy who sat next to Robert Degenerate in a meeting, in a what's it called? A dinner, and managed to avoid over 40 million, a tax bill of over 40 million pounds. Because he sat next to Robert Jenrick and said, hey, do you reckon you could sort something out for me? And the degenerate Jenrick says, yeah, fucking I'll do that. The gobshite. Oh, thank you very much to Alistair Kerr for the £5 super chat. Thank you. Graham, when the UK left the EU, Law was supposed to get Law back, but again, Waste Monster kept them, and that was another thing. Yes, I mean, yeah. Westminster. Yeah, the EU laws that have just stayed on the books because it would be ridiculous to get rid of them all. Because you just put them back on, just in a different coloured pen, I guess. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, none of the promises that we were given for Brexit ever got through. But the problem is because the younger generation are so less credulous. They've got better critical thinking faculties. They can spot AI images from a mile away. The boomers can't. They can't imagine a machine making a photorealistic picture, and they don't have the tools they need to be able to look at that picture and see all the weird little artifacts everywhere that don't make any sense whatsoever, and do something about it, and go, oh, well, that's AI. No, that's not real. No, they'll just send it on. They'll just send it on to everyone on their Facebook wall feed, Facebook feed, saying, so beautiful. And you're like, what? And I got some more super chats come in. We've got John C. Thank you very much. In 1975 EC referendum, the older wartime generation voted largely to continue membership, whereas younger Lexiteers, today's boomers, tended to vote to leave. Yep, and that referendum was very close to a super majority for staying in the EU. What would become the EU? We joined it in 1973, and then 2 years later we had a referendum. Is this going well? And it was made very clear to the people who were voting that it wasn't just an economic thing. It was a social and political thing as well. It was made very clear at the time. There are articles about it. You can look them up in your local library if you go back and read the articles. The Daily Mail supported staying in Europe at the time and called for closer political ties. Oh, how things changed. And Alex, well, you see, the thing is, it was never in our interest to leave the EU. It was in Russia's interest. It was not in the interest of any person in this country who's not a multimillionaire, like Farage or whoever. It wasn't in any of our interests to vote for Brexit. It's just neutered us as a country. It really has. It's knackered us. It's knackered us. Is why our economy hasn't really grown in 17 years. 17 years of no growth. Alex Morgan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Woo! Good morning, Graham. I've been absent of late, and life wasn't balancing. Oh no, you were my lockdown sensei. Good to see Hughes of the world back. Oh, thanks very much, Alex. There'll be I'll be sorting out the new episode of that, which will be going back online tonight because I had some technical problems with it. So that should be going on at 6 o'clock tonight, and it'll be I'll do it as a premiere. So you can type stuff on it if you want. Steve says Scotland are bringing back the winter fuel allowance for all pensioners in the 2025-26 tax year, which is good. We've got Christopher Bowles saying the 10k donation to the Conservative Party to save millions in local taxes due to Tower Hamlets Borough of London for Richard Desmond. Yeah, he gave 10 grand to the Tory party and he got back a £40 million tax write-off. Care to see the corrupt Conservative Party. Alistair, another super chat from us. You've been very generous today, Alistair, considering I'm English and you're Scottish. Thank you, sir. Technically, you have an English Parliament. It's Westminster. When the devolved Parliament's vote in 1998, you were supposed to get Northern England a Parliament, but the English vote no, a big mistake. I think we should have a devolved Parliament for England for English matters, and then you have Parliament in Westminster for international matters. And set it up the way it's set up at the moment. But Labour have been talking a big game on devolution, which is good, because I really do believe in it. I don't believe there's a one-size-fits-all for any particular town, city, hamlet, village, whatever in the country. I think that people need to make local decisions locally. When it comes to international decisions, I understand that we need to have one parliament that works together to, have a presence on the world stage, etc. And we talk about trade and the overall economy and stuff like that. So with Scotland, you say, well, we make all the whiskey, and 20% of the total food and drink exports from the UK, 20% is Scotch whiskey. 20% by value. I mean, that is just insane. But yeah, that's the way it works. Scotch whiskey is valued all over the world. It has a value to it like you wouldn't believe. Maybe that's something that could be offered to Trump. Maybe he could be given his own whiskey label. It's like that. That would appeal to his ego, wouldn't it? Some single malt whiskey. Give him that, even though he doesn't drink, apparently. And then, give him a golf course. Give him a fucking golf course, all right? We've got too many golf courses in this country. Give Trump a golf course. If giving Trump a golf course means we have peace in our time, then it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Not that I ever play golf, but... Anne Phillips says, I was too young to vote, just missed the referendum, joined the Department of Trade and saw what was really like, convinced Remainer from then on. Yeah, and it honestly, it blows my mind just how ridiculous Brexit is from any point of view. But when you've got the likes of Catherine Berbel-Singh saying, oh, the problem with kids today, I'm like, no, the problem with the older generation. And the problem is they only know how to do, not all of them, most of them, only know to do what they've been told. They've not been allowed to think for themselves their entire lives. They've been told what to think by somebody else. It was mummy, daddy, teacher, head teacher. Then it was Rupert Murdoch told them what to think. And they were told they were too stupid to come up with their own ideas. And we don't do that to kids now. We ask them, do you want this or this? We let them make choices. We let them make decisions. That helps with their growing up. We are seeing now this generation coming up is one of the most compassionate generations probably the most compassionate generation that's ever existed. You've got young people going to school, getting along with people from all different walks of life, different sexualities, different religions. You wouldn't have seen that even maybe 20 years ago. Never mind 50 years ago. You just wouldn't have seen it. People were horrible. People were fucking horrible. And they could get away with it. People with disabilities were treated like shit. Now, we understand disabilities a lot more, especially mental health problems, way more than we used to. And this idea, this fame-hungry monster, Birbal Singh, who looks like a character from fucking Monkey Dust, and she's there going, we have to be strict on these children. We have to be strict on them. No, being strict fucks those kids up more than being kind, because it teaches them that being horrible to someone is the way to get them to do something. Smacking them, hitting them. If you've got a problem and you're feeling quite emotional about something, the way to resolve that problem is to use violence. That's the way that the older generations used to think. How many times have we heard that stupid fucking line? Oh, well, I got caned in school. Didn't do me no harm. Yeah. Coming from people, the generation with the highest number of serial killers in human history, I've got to say, can't really see it. Can't really see it. I'm sorry, mate. You say it's done you no harm. I think it really has. But yeah, I mean, this Birbal Singh is just repeating the bullshit that we heard about people who didn't want to stop abusing children in schools by spanking them, by hitting them with objects, by whipping them. People who didn't want to stop the parents from smacking their children, to get them in line. People who also probably complained about not being able to smoke in a car with a child in the back. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I said a few months ago, we were talking about porn, and I know this is a complete tangent, but this is ADHD brain here, but I just remembered it. And I said that we should have some kind of law come in that stops violent porn. Specifically, I mentioned the fact that in a lot of porn you see men with their hands around a woman's neck, which is incredibly dangerous. It's like insanely dangerous. And you're seeing women every week being murdered by their partners in this way, and then the murderer saying, "Oh, well, it was just a sex game. It went wrong." And it's bullshit. They killed them. But there's a bill going through that is specifically going to ban violent depictions of sex, and it will include specifically putting a hand around a woman's neck, which is never fucking acceptable, or anyone's neck, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be a woman, but yeah. So I'm all for that. One of the things that I'm not for, though, is in June, they are bringing in the Online Safety Act, which is brought in under the Tories. That comes into effect. And people are going to have to give their credit card details to porn sites to be able to access porn in the future. Now, I've got a problem with this because if it's mainstream, you can bring in rules such as you're not allowed to depict violent acts in pornography. If it's mainstream. If you stop people getting it through the mainstream means by saying they've got to put a credit card in to get it, and obviously that's going to stop children getting on, apparently, but what they'll do is they'll just download it from the BitTorrent site, or they'll go onto the dark web. They'll find it. They'll find the free version of the thing that you're not allowed to show, well, without giving you credit card, and that free version might be some really violent, horrific shit that no one needs to see, and yeah. Problems. I hope Sheila didn't give her an easy time, said Anne Phillips. No, it wasn't an interview. She was just talking about a report that was in one of the newspapers where Birbal Singh, fame hungry, attention deficit, bloody woman, please pay attention to me. When I say attention deficit, I don't mean like ADHD. I mean like, oh my God, people aren't paying enough attention to me. I'm going to say something outrageous, and then I'll be in the newspapers for saying something outrageous. She's awful. She's absolutely awful on so many levels, but she didn't get interviewed by Sheila. But Sheila was like, oh yeah, I think maybe we are a bit soft on kids. And I really fucking hate that because, first of all, it's such a shit fucking line. Anyone who tries to tell someone else how to fucking parent is they're on a road to nowhere, because everyone parents differently. And as long as you're not abusing the kids, as long as you're not treating the kids like shit, as long as you're not causing problems later in life by your treatment of the kids, as long as you're giving them love, giving them respect, and letting them do their thing and allowing them to grow in their own way, then I've got no problem with it. It's when people who aren't parents try and tell parents like they're doing it wrong. I mean, I get me back up when parents tell other parents they're doing it wrong, but someone who doesn't have kids of their own and isn't a stepmom, I'm like, yeah. But yeah, it's the porn industry needs to be regulated. Yeah, Pygmalion, I absolutely agree with that. But also, I think that the availability of the content needs to be regulated in a way that we produce laptops and phones and tablets for kids that cannot be jailbroken. They cannot be jailbroken. You cannot use that device and manage to get online. You can't change the MAC address and pretend it's something else. You cannot get online and see that kind of stuff. And those are, Laptop Junior, Game Boy Junior, Nintendo Junior. Make the platform something that cannot access that stuff. Simple as that. That's how you defeat it. That's how you rein in the amount of damaging stuff that's on the internet and stop kids from seeing it. You make a specific product, because don't forget, kids aren't going to buy themselves a mobile phone at the age of 11. They don't have the money, all right? It's going to be bought for them by their parents. That phone shouldn't allow pornographic images to be shown on it in any way, shape, or form. That should also only link to WhatsApp Junior, Snapchat Junior, which doesn't allow you to take photos of yourself, etc. Just get those rules in place and say, look, we need to protect children in the digital space. Trying to, trim around the edges and go, we'll put some protections against people looking at porn. And it's like, well, the reality is the internet is the fucking Wild West. And if you know your way around, if you know a BitTorrent site, then you'll be able to download whatever you want, no matter how grim and messed up. And that's something that I feel like I'm not for censorship in the way that they were in, the old days of the VHS, the what was it called? The video nasties, the 88 video nasties that were banned in the UK. They weren't banned in France, like French people could watch it, but if a British person watched it, they'll go mad, kill everyone. I don't think that's the case. And I don't see why adults shouldn't be allowed to watch whatever they want within reason, as long as it's not, violent depictions of porn, etc. So yeah, I think that they need to have a rethink about how we address this. And I really do think that having basically phones that operate, but you cannot access, the hardware will not allow you to access that stuff. And you can't jailbreak them. Make it so that if you wanted to jailbreak it, it would be cheaper just to get an adult phone. And then at least parents have got the option there to, make sure that the kids are safe, because it is a worry. It is an absolute worry. Kids have got mobile phones at the age of 11 and you don't know what they're looking at. So moving on. Problem, there'll always be 0-day exploits. Anne says some people have absolutely no control over their kids, and that's not healthy either. My son and DIL have never hit theirs. Daughter-in-law, I guess. It's not necessary, but they are well and kindly disciplined. Yeah, I'm not saying not to have discipline. That's something else. But she was talking about giving them choices. You shouldn't give them choices. You shouldn't allow them to wear what they want. Are they your kids, or are they a squaddy in the fucking military? I don't know. Kids will just take over an app that no one ever over the age of 30 understands and use new words to talk about it, so we can't tell what they're doing, says Steve C. Yeah, Stevie, if you give a kid an adult phone, it's freedom. Like, they can do anything with it. They can do anything with it. Whereas if you give them a phone that's made for children, you can't actually access this stuff on it. Like, in the hardware will not let you access it. Anyway, agree, Graham. A kid got blackmailed into giving out naked pics on WhatsApp up in Scotland last week, says Alistair. Yeah, absolutely fucking disgusting stories of kids taking pictures of themselves and then being blackmailed, having to pay money, steal money off their parents to pay back this blackmail money. WhatsApp, I don't think should be allowed to have photos when the kids can chat to each other, they can send each other stickers. No photos. WhatsApp Junior, that works on junior phones. That's it. And yeah, when you're 18, you can have a grown-up phone. Why not? I mean, we live in a country where you had to be 18 to watch Alien when I was a kid. You had to be 18 to watch The Exorcist. You had to be 18. And it wasn't like in America where they get an R rating where you can watch the movie if you're accompanied by an adult. No, we didn't have that. You couldn't see it until you were 18. It was absolute bloody madness. Still the case. It's still the case to this day. If an 18 certificate movie comes out, you can't take your kids to go and see that movie. You can't make that decision. That parental decision is taken from you. And we're happy with that. But when it comes to having phones for under 18s that, don't allow you to go to certain places on the internet or have certain apps on them, suddenly, oh no, you can't do that. I don't know why, you just can't. Anyway, right, I'm going to really, really razz through the papers very, very quickly, and then I'm going to get going. So we've got the Times here. Hospital hiring doctors to treat elderly patients in corridors. We need you to hold back Putin, PM tells Trump. Tells Trump? He hasn't met him yet, has he? Turbines will be painted black to cut bird deaths because turbines are the thing that kill birds, apparently, according to people who own massive glass towers, which kill 50 times as many birds get killed by big glass towers. Yeah, so you shouldn't listen to people who build big glass towers on these things. Talk Madia, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Andrea Loathsome thinks non-parents should shut it. It's funny that, because I think Andrea Loathsome should shut it. He'll strike again, and there's a picture of Michael Jackson. I don't think he will. I think he's dead. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. He's talking about something else. Starmer warning to Trump. PM calls for united front against Putin ahead of Washington talks. We've got Vine and Hitchens, two of those vile people in the media at the moment. Let's hear what the posh people think. Why don't we hear? We never hear from the posh people, do we? We never hear from the nepo babies, do we? We never hear from them. Why don't we hear from them? We should hear from them. Starmer set to blow defense billions on Chagos surrender. All right, yeah. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. Daily Mail, Daily Fail. One man's fight to save a red phone box. It's on the front cover of the Guardian. Okay. Starmer to press Trump on security guarantees in critical Ukraine talks. And then they got images from this fucking mad video that went online yesterday. Donald Trump put this video of him with a big golden statue. They want a big golden statue of Trump in the middle of Gaza. That's what he wants. Fucking lunatic. Back Europe on Putin and meet the king. Starmer's top Trump card. We've got Daily Telegraph here. Starmer to confront Trump on Ukraine, and a picture of the princess. Was there a picture of her on one of the? Yeah, there was a picture of her on the Times as well for no reason. The Princess of Wales wore a flower. Okay. Oh, there's another story. The Princess of Wales wore a flower. It's on the front cover. Oh, here's you go. It's on the front cover of the Express as well. The Princess of Wales wore a flower. Fuck me. Good job there's nothing else going on in the world. Claudia cops search hidden loft. Detectives plan to re-enter missing Claudia Lawrence's home after it emerged a hidden loft above her bedroom may have never been physically searched. Oh my. Okay, Trumpy land Gaza. This is Trump's video. Throw money at the peasants who used to live here. Worship at the giant orange statue of Orange Man Baby. And he's there like at the beach with fucking Benjamin Netanyahu. Jesus Christ. Setting out his AI vision. Financial Times. Trump threat of 25% tariffs on EU goods heightens fears over trade war. And this is his cringe. If you want to cringe so bad, you put your back out. In fact, if you've got a bad back and you need to crick your back, watch the Trump cabinet meeting yesterday with Elon Musk. You will cringe your back into shape, or out of shape, depending on how you're feeling. Jersey Shore is back on the TV. Oh, no, it's not. Bergerac's back Oh, I see what they've done because it's set in Jersey. And then we've got deal or no deal. Zelenskyy says minimals agreement will quietly fade away unless Trump protects his nation from Russia. Hopes of peace in Ukraine on knife edge. And then we go to fixed tariff deals. Nonsense. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on the show this morning. I'll be back this evening with a new episode of Hughes of the World, which I broadcast last night, but I'll be putting that back up today for 6 o'clock, and put a bit of advertising behind it so you can actually watch it this time, because weren't very many people watching it because some dickhead decided to change the day that I did it, and I didn't really tell anyone, and it only went online like 10 minutes before I started. So yes, we will endeavour, and then tomorrow morning I'll be back with Morning Brew, and we've got a very exciting episode of The Agenda tomorrow, which is going to be produced by Phil, and he's going to be talking to Mike Dix of Trumpton fame, and Mike Dix, who's been accompanying us on the Friday Night Social over the last few months, actually, last few months. So if you want to see Mike and Phil have a chat, please tune in to Politics Social tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So until then, say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the super chats, really kind. And until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.